She missed her flight, but not her moment. A stranger fell, and she chose him over her dreams. What she didn't know was someone powerful was watching. The heel of her sneaker caught on the edge of a sticky tile as she weaved between rolling suitcases and slow-moving travelers. Gwen Moore didn't curse. She just muttered a low, "Sorry," and kept going, her paper coffee cup clutched in one hand, her ID badge bouncing against her scrubs. The terminal buzzed with half-slept voices and fluorescent hums, the muffled announcements from distant gates folding over one another in waves. "Watch it," someone mumbled as they brushed past, knocking her shoulder. She spilled just enough of the coffee to smear the corner of her badge. G. Moore, CNA. She stopped for a beat, wiped it with the edge of her sleeve, then glanced at the clock on the overhead board. 7:12 a.m. The final boarding call wasn't far off. She moved quickly, but not frantically, like someone used to being late, but never for lack of trying. At gate C-17, the crowd clustered in that quiet tension of almost boarding. Men in pressed suits stared at phones. A few women held sparkling handbags. A pilot laughed too loudly at something the gate agent said. Gwen stepped into line behind them, unnoticed. A teenager in front of her dropped his Starbucks bag, a sandwich and napkin tumbling out. She bent without a word, gathered it, handed it up. "Thanks," the boy mumbled, not looking up. He had wireless earbuds in. Gwen didn't respond. Her back straightened a little slower as she returned to her spot. The agent at the counter didn't meet her eyes, just gestured toward the seat chart. "No more upgrades. You're in 22B. The man behind her, tall, silver watch, red tie, got a warm smile and a quiet joke. They both chuckled. Gwen stepped aside, jaw tightening for just a second, then released it like she'd done it 1,000 times. The intercom sparked to life. Final boarding call for Flight 407 to Denver. From her scrub pocket, Gwen pulled a small, crumpled photo. A girl in a yellow graduation gown, gap-toothed and grinning. On the back, in looping kids' print, "For Mommy. Keep going." Gwen touched it to her lips, just a whisper of a kiss, then tucked it away. The line thinned. She walked forward. A custodian's cart squeaked past, plastic bins stacked high, a chipped ceramic mug perched on top. A sudden bump. The mug tipped. She caught it mid-air. "Nice catch," the man said, wheeling around, surprised. "Almost lost my favorite." She looked at the side. Faded cursive read, "Be the one who stays kind." She gave a dry little chuckle. "I'm used to catching what others drop." The man smiled, rolled on, closer now. She could see the jet bridge, could almost taste the stale recycled air, the tiny seat. Her hand reached for her phone, checking for texts. Nothing new. Then a voice, sharp, male. "Kindness doesn't make you valuable. Results do." To her left, a tall man in a tight charcoal suit stood over a younger woman with a staff badge. He was speaking low, but pointed. The woman glanced down, ashamed. His gaze shifted, landed on Gwen. "You waiting for someone to help you too?" She paused, cocked her head slightly. "No, I usually do the helping." She stepped past him. Just as her foot hit the metal threshold of the jet bridge, a thud echoed behind her. It wasn't loud. Not loud like a dropped suitcase or a slam of a bag, but solid, sudden, and wrong. People froze. An old white man, maybe mid-80s, in a windbreaker and khakis, had collapsed near a bench, his face pale, mouth slack. His eyes fluttered open, confused. Gwen turned instantly, dropped her bag, knelt beside him. "Sir?" Her voice was calm, practiced. "Can you hear me?" His head tilted slightly, lips moving. "Wrong gate." The gate agent hesitated, wide-eyed. A couple passengers took out phones. Most stood still, unsure, unwilling. The operations manager, the one in the charcoal suit, rolled his eyes. "We'll call medics. That's not your job." Gwen didn't answer. She had already slipped off her sweater, rolled it under the man's head, gently elevated his legs. "Can you squeeze my hand?" she asked, kneeling close. "Good. That's good." Near a pillar, a figure watched. Older, quiet. Black man, navy cap, no luggage. No one noticed him, but he noticed her. Someone offered a bottle of water. Gwen nodded thanks, helped the man sip. His hands trembled. Behind her, the door to the jet bridge beeped and slid closed. The gate agent gave a helpless little shrug. "We had to board." Gwen sat back, her knees stiff from the tile. She stared at the closed door for a long moment, then quietly, "Guess I'm not flying today." Security arrived, wheeling the man away in a chair. Gwen offered a faint smile as they passed, but he was already half asleep. She gathered her bag, found the chipped mug again, forgotten near the cart. She sat on the bench, holding it lightly in her palms. The terminal kept moving. Announcements, luggage wheels, coffee machines. Same lights, same gate. But something faint, invisible, had shifted. The weight in her shoulders had not, but something in the air had. Like the breath between a song and its echo. Like a waiting. The voice came soft and unsure. "Ms. Moore?" Gwen turned. A woman in an airline vest stood a few feet away, arms tucked close like she didn't want to be there. "He, the man you helped, he's asking for you. Said to find the nurse in blue." "I'm not a nurse," Gwen said, blinking. "I told him that." Still asked. She followed without answering. Her feet were heavy, soles tacky on the break room linoleum. The space was fluorescent lit and windowless. A room made for forgetting time. A vending machine hummed in the corner beside a metal sink and a stack of mismatched chairs. She paced. She couldn't sit. The coffee in her stomach soured with nerves. Her badge still wore a smear from earlier. She didn't wipe it this time. She thought of something a coworker once said after a long night shift. "We're background noise. Until we're not." Gwen hadn't replied then either, just nodded. The door opened. But it wasn't the old man. It was someone else. A supervisor with stiff shoulders and eyes too sharp for morning. "You interfered with a passenger," he said, walking in like he owned the air. "That's a violation of protocol. You're not certified to assist. I helped a person who fell. You're not trained for emergencies. I'm trained to care." He smirked, folded his arms. "Don't act like you're special." She didn't argue. She just stared back, jaw still, her breath deep and slow. His words didn't hurt. They didn't land anywhere she hadn't already been bruised. Behind him, a voice broke the silence. "She didn't just help," Camilla said. The baggage handler stepped in hesitantly. Her neon vest was too big, sleeves bunched at her wrists. She spoke fast, nervous. She stopped him from seizing, got his legs up, kept his head still. "I've seen worse from trained people." The supervisor blinked. "You're not a medical." Camilla cut him off. But I saw what she did. A long pause. Gwen met her eyes. Quiet thanks passed without words. Camilla's voice softened. That was brave. No one spoke after that. Later, alone in the terminal again, Gwen sat near gate C-12. Flights came and went. No one looked her way. A muffled cry pulled her head around. Behind a vending machine, a small boy crouched, maybe 5, cheeks streaked with tears. Lost. Gwen rose without a word. She moved slowly, palms open. Knelt beside him. Hey, sweetie. You stuck? He nodded once, hiccuping, eyes wide. She pulled out her half-full water bottle and offered it. He hesitated, then drank. She hummed. A soft tune, low and warm. Spanish words laced gently into the air. A lullaby from her mother's voice, half remembered. The boy's shoulders eased. From a distance, Camilla watched again, her expression unreadable. But something in her posture had changed. The quiet didn't last. A loud voice pierced the lull. You again. It was the manager from before. The man in the sharp suit, now red-faced, frustrated. You don't work here. You're just making people uncomfortable. This isn't your playground. Gwen stood slowly. Her voice was even. Comfort isn't the same as right. He scoffed. You think you're some kind of hero? No, she said. I think people need help. She didn't wait for his reply. Camilla stepped closer to her, barely a whisper. He's scared of you. Gwen didn't respond, just walked to the window. Planes rose beyond the glass, their shadows brushing against the tarmac. Her reflection met her there. Tired, quiet, small in the wide pane. What's the point? She touched the photo in her pocket. Just touched it. No words, no prayer. Just the edges worn down from being held too many times. Then a voice over the intercom. Gate A3. Staff emergency briefing. Gwen Moore. Please report. Her name spoken aloud, clear. She stared at the speaker. Then toward the direction of A3. Her feet moved before her mind could catch up. Inside the staff room, executives in suits, ground crew, flight attendants still in lipstick. The hum of air conditioning filled the space where voices weren't ready. And then him, the old man she'd helped, now in clean slacks, a pale blue shirt, and a thin cane that tapped as he stepped forward. No windbreaker, no confusion. His eyes were sharp. I want her to tell you what she did. Silence. Every head turned. Gwen's throat tightened. She looked around, then down, then back up. I saw someone fall, she said softly. I stayed. That's it. She didn't sit. She didn't fidget. She just stood in that stillness. The silence was long. Then the man smiled, not wide, just enough. Sometimes that's all it takes. The air changed. A hush, yes, but not empty. Something had been said, and now it lived in the room. Gwen felt it like a heartbeat, slow and steady. She didn't smile back, but her shoulders. They lifted just slightly, like someone remembering how to stand taller. Later, in a quiet lounge away from the public gates, Gwen sat near the window with her hands folded in her lap. Her shoes were still damp from the terminal's morning mop, and the stale air carried a faint scent of carpet glue and burnt coffee. Outside, planes rolled past in slow, purposeful arcs. She heard him before she saw him. The soft tap of a cane on the polished floor. Mind if I join you? Gwen turned. The old man, dressed now with quiet intention, nodded toward the seat across from her. His cap was gone, his hair white and neatly combed. She gestured to the chair. You're walking better than earlier. He smiled. Only just. Don't get too impressed. He eased into the seat with a small wince, placed the cane across his lap. Charles Langston. She blinked once. The name's familiar. You've probably flown with my company before. Gwen tilted her head. You own an airline. He nodded. Langston Aviation Group. I started it 43 years ago with one route, 2 leased jets, and a very patient wife. She didn't laugh, but her lips twitched. I was testing something this morning, he added, eyes studying her, looking at how our people, our systems, respond under pressure. She said nothing. You passed. I wasn't taking a test. That's why it mattered. They sat quietly for a while, the soft hiss of the vents filling the space between them. He leaned back, watching her. Tell me something, Gwen. Do you always step in? Only when no one else does. He nodded slowly. And if they did, I'd still watch, just in case. A few minutes later, the door behind them opened. 2 executives entered, clean suits, quick eyes, the kind of men who calculated things as they spoke. One of them, the taller, gave a tight smile. Mr. Langston, sir, we got the reports. We're all set to... Langston raised a hand, silencing him without words. She's not an employee, the second man said after a pause. Not trained. Not even certified to... We're not here to discuss protocol, Langston said. His voice was steady. We're here to recognize decency. The room shifted. Not loud, just quieter. In that sharp way people go silent when the balance of power moves a notch. Langston turned back to Gwen. You didn't do what was expected. You did what was right. She didn't reply. Not yet. The operations manager entered last. Same man from before. Charcoal suit, expression more careful now. He kept his hands behind his back. I misjudged you, he said. That was my mistake. His voice wasn't warm, but it wasn't cruel. It was the kind of apology that had edges. Rough, reluctant, but real. Gwen gave a small nod. That was all. Langston reached into a slim leather folder and took out an envelope. He placed it on the table between them. I'd like to sponsor your RN training. Full ride. Flexible schedule. And when you're ready, a place with us in the medical response division. Guaranteed. Gwen didn't touch the envelope. I don't want press, she said. You won't get it. No cameras, no backpatting. No spotlight, he agreed. I want to keep working. Of course. She looked at him for a long time, then down. On the table beside the envelope sat the chipped mug. Someone had placed it there earlier. Probably a crew member who didn't know what else to do with it. Be the one who stays kind. Same words. But they sounded different now. She picked it up, turning it in her hands. Only if I can still catch what others drop, she said quietly. Langston's smile deepened. That's the job. She took the envelope, folded it once, and tucked it into her bag without fanfare. Later that week, Gate C-17 felt lighter. No one had repainted it or changed the lights, but something had shifted. Camilla, now with her vest properly fitted and a clipboard in hand, helped an elderly man ease his suitcase onto a bench. You good, sir? Want water? She asked gently. Nearby, a ground crew worker offered a young mother his seat without being prompted. No big gestures, just better ones. Change came quiet. At baggage claim, Gwen stood beside a row of dented luggage carts, watching. Another woman, younger, scrubs a shade lighter, clearly new, knelt to help a confused traveler whose ticket had torn. Gwen didn't interrupt, just watched. A small smile touched her face. Not pride, exactly. Something quieter. Recognition. Her own badge now read G. Moore, RN. The uniform was new. Navy, tailored, but plain. She still carried the old mug in her bag. Back in the staff lounge, tucked into a glass display box beside an old photo of Langston's first plane. The mug had appeared a few days after the meeting. A tiny brass plaque beneath it read, Be the one who stays kind, Gwen Moore. She hadn't asked for that, but she hadn't objected either. That morning, a boy pointed as Gwen walked by the terminal Starbucks. Is that her? He whispered to his mom. The woman squinted after Gwen's figure. Calm, unreadable, disappearing into the crowd. Maybe, the woman said. Maybe she was always there. We just weren't looking.